Good morning, everyone. I wonder if everyone has control over their mute button or how that is going. Is it all? I think it's all been sorted out. Just wanted to make sure before we begin. Good morning, everyone. It's wonderful to see all of you out there. I'm trying for the first time to be reading from my iPad so that I can save paper because I'm always making changes. I can't tell you how much paper I use in these. So we're working with even more technology this morning. So let us listen to the sound of the Peace Bowl. We open our service at Granite Peak Unitarian Universalist Congregation with our shared hope of peace. We also open with the knowledge that this is the place, this is the land of the Yavapais, this place that we love so much. Today, this bell is also for the life stories that have supported us through our own lives, that have held clues to how we can live our own lives. We open with gratitude for Jo Sprague's story that she will share with us today. I have loved biographies since I began reading books, and they were a part of the first set of books I had. I wonder if they were a part of yours. And Ludwig von Beethoven was among them. And my mother, who was a musician, loved to read and tell stories of his life. In that biography, it told about how he began to lose his hearing early in his life as a composer. And by 1810, his hearing had been worsening for more than 10 years. And in that year, he wrote this famous work, For Elise. Can you hear this struggle and his resilience as part of the beauty of this music? Let us listen. Wasn't that beautiful? And did you notice her iPad as well? It is good to be together. In these times when so much is different, let us listen to these words of our mission statement and think, really think, are we using these words as our anchor? We are a compassionate spiritual community that celebrates diversity, nurtures the personal and spiritual growth of all ages, shares our gifts, promotes justice for all, and serves the world we live in. This morning, we thank Heather Knowles for technical and artistic direction, Mary Lou Prince for music direction, and Jo Sprague for sharing her experience with us. At the end of our time, you will have a chance to talk with her more or enter into a breakout room. The symbol of our chalice. Do you know it comes out of the work of Reverend Waitstill Hastings and Martha Sharp, a Unitarian minister, and his wife, who is a social worker, who helped many Jewish children escape the Nazis during World War II. This work separated them from their own children. And this work opened Martha's eyes to a new way of being in the world, a way that made her feel so alive. She loved the dangerous work like spying. I hope you have a chance to watch their documentary. She loved this work so much that she went back to Europe the second time alone, because her husband did not want to continue. She went alone even when her children wanted her to stay home. Her courage to make unpopular choices is embedded in this chalice, the symbol of our faith. We light our chalice this morning for Martha Sharp and for all of the difficult experiences among us that we have used as opportunities to transform. As we gather our hearts together, let us listen to the words of thanks from readers we do not know, people who are connected to us because we are all sharing this blasted pandemic. They are the ones who wrote to the New York Times about their gratitude, and they had only 6 words. The backyard haircuts are getting better. My choir still meets on Zoom. Friends who give me streaming passwords. We have friends who gave us their Netflix password because they watch it in Washington, D.C., and they're in bed by the time we want to watch. They also say family reunion in January before COVID. Miss family, but safer for them. Saved a lot of lipstick money. More homemade pasta, no more jeans. No shame in elastic waist pants. Teenage son still likes to snuggle. My parents live 2 blocks away. No better excuse to avoid in-laws. This stinking year is nearly over. I am thankful for Pastor Bob. I'm just thankful for indoor plumbing. I am thankful to be thankful. Never been social. Now I'm good. I am bored, but not dead. Ambulance took him. He came home. Hearing Granny laugh on the phone. It's just a cold, not COVID. Sunny mornings, a window facing east, my bicycle, the trail each morning. Toscanini's recording of Beethoven's 9th Symphony. And I would add, all of you, faithful, still on Zoom. For Prescott blue skies, walking trails. Be thinking of your 6 words, and you can send them throughout this service to Heather on the chat, and we will put them together to use in our service next week. So for the words you will write, and with gratitude for the ground on which we walk together, let us sing. Our opening song, We Give Thanks. And remember, nobody can hear you. Sing out.
Oh, we give thanks for this precious day, for all gathered here and those far away, for this time we share with love and care. Oh, we give thanks for this precious day. Oh, we give thanks for this precious day, for all gathered here and those far away, for this time we share with love and care. Oh, we give thanks for this precious day.
And please join me in saying our covenant. Love is the doctrine of this congregation. The quest for truth its sacrament, and service is its prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge in freedom, to serve others in community. Thus do we covenant together. I now would like to invite you into our time of joys and sorrows. Let us listen to the sound of this bell. Let us breathe together and find that place of stillness within us. Let's feel our feet on the floor. Relax our shoulders. And let us consider all of the joys and sorrows that we bring to this circle of community. Let us hold the Indigenous people who have lived lives of courage and resilience at unspeakable odds. And in this community, we begin with joy. Drew Potter is 94 years old today. Wow. And Mary Steenhoek just turned 80. We rejoice as well in the continued recovery of Karen Anderson. I sat with her and felt how her spirits have been lifted by all of you and the love that you have sent to her. We also hold Robert Shigog, who had a bad experience at urgent care this past week and is now at home recuperating from ulcers that were caused by his medication. We hold Janer Eldridge, who is in hospice. May all those joys and sorrows feel the love of this community surrounding them. I invite you also to hold the leaders of this town, of this city of Prescott. On Friday, when I was in contact with Chief Black of the police department, I heard that many around her in the police department are out with COVID-19. It would be easy for us to think, oh, you should have known better, you should have done differently. Let us not do that. Let us hold all those, however they contacted this awful disease. Let us hold them in our hearts and within the circle of this community, making this circle ever wider. Let us hold those who are going through changes, the people who have received a difficult diagnosis. Let us hold in this moment gratitude for all the small kindnesses we have experienced. May those kindnesses urge us to do our own. Now I invite you into a time of silence during which I hope that you say the names of those who are on your hearts and minds. And after the silence, I will give a prayer, meditation, and then we will sing. Scott and Anna, Arlo, Marilyn, Betty. Spirit of life, we are grateful. We are grateful for all those well-lived lives from which we have learned. We ask for blessings on those who are experiencing the joy of birthdays, but during this different time when they are separated from many of the people who would be gathering and eating cake together and lighting candles. May they feel that love, however far away it is. We ask for continued blessings for Karen Anderson and her healing, and for the family around her. We also ask for blessings on Robert Shagog, that his healing may be quick. We ask for blessings on Janer Eldridge and on Peter and Joe as they accompany her in these last weeks, months, or even years of her life. We give thanks for her life, a life well lived that has supported many others. We ask that the circle of this community grow and grow, that we hold in this community all those in Prescott and surrounding Quad City areas and Phoenix and all of Arizona and all of this country, and then out into the world, all those families suffering from the loss of someone to COVID. We also celebrate the parents, like parents, friends of ours, who have a tiny premature infant who is now able to be home, little Arlo. And all those family joys that are happening around this globe at the same time that we are mourning losses. We pray for safety. We pray that even though we are tired of masks, tired of being distanced, that we be careful, because it has been our good care that has protected this community. Let us continue so that we can continue to be well and support others. For all these things, we pray in the love of this community. Amen, and may it be so. And now, without a piano, let us say our words together. Walking with you is my prayer. This is the time in our service for the offering that supports this congregation and its programs. This is also a call to any of you worship associates who wish that you were giving these announcements to please sign up. I took this on because there was no one written in for this day. So, and maybe some of you out there would like to be in this place. So please be in touch. It is during this time for our offering that we think of with gratitude to our congregation and its programs. We also support the greater community through our Seeds of Support program. Our November recipient is Maintaining the Link, a program begun by marvelous Bronwyn Butterfield many years ago. This program supports our Latino Immigrant Network Coalition December event. This year it has been revamped COVID-19 style as a drive-through celebration at GPUUC on December 12th, featuring Santa Claus, gifts, and holiday cheer for approximately 20 Latinx families who will be invited to participate. And we still need support for 8 of those families. So please contact Heather or me if you can sponsor buying children's toys for one of those families. These families are part of our journey. They are what has come to us when we drew our circle wider. They are our neighbors. Be generous in your contributions for this celebration of Christmas, because these are very hard-hit times for immigrant families. What is given in love is received in gratitude. Blessed be. And now we will sing the song during our offering. Spirit of Life, do you know that that song was born out of composer Carolyn McDade's disappointment? She was involved in social action and she felt the impossibility of making any difference at all. And when she went to the piano with that discouragement heavy on her heart, these words and melody emerged. Let us sing together, Spirit of Life.
Oh,
I invite you now into a holy story, into a story that Jo Sprague will tell us of a time in her life when everything changed.
Well, in the fall of 1965, I was really flying high. Everything in my life was going beyond expectations. I had graduated and got an assistantship to one of the multiple schools I'd been accepted in. And all of this was because I had somewhere along the way emerged as a championship debater. And I won about 24 trophies in my 4 years of college, got to travel a lot, and was recognized a lot for being an excellent debater. And went to nationals in my senior year and placed very well. And because of that, got offers to be a graduate assistant coaching debate. And then an incredible thing happened in the summer between undergraduate school and graduate school. I was competed for and was chosen as one of the 2 people to participate in an international debate circuit, which meant going to England for about 3 weeks, to Great Britain really, and debating in Oxford Student Union and Cambridge and Edinburgh and Belfast and somewhere in Wales that I can't pronounce. And it was beyond the kind of serious college debate. One had to win that, one had to pick up the art of being witty and even more on the spot responsive. And I was so excited about doing this. By the time I arrived to graduate school, I was somebody special already in my group because I had a leave of absence prepared for spring so I could go on this trip. So things could not have been more exciting or more wonderful. It turns out that I did take a leave of absence that spring, but it was because I discovered midway through the fall that I was pregnant.
Thank you, Jo. Thank you. Thank you for bringing your life to our service. And you will hear the continuation of this story soon. In Japanese culture, change is integral to the appreciation of beauty. On our drive out of Prescott and into Prescott Valley, the beauty created by the way the sun lit up the remaining leaves on those huge cottonwood trees, golden against brilliant blue of the sky, was intensified by the reality that next week, those leaves will probably be gone. Our appreciation deepens because it is tinged with loss. When we fall in love, the love of that moment, that heart-aching moment, also holds the loss that we know will happen at some time. It holds the heart-aching loss of impending separation, or at least it did for us when we fell in love. When we love, we are shaken into seeing mortality in the object of our love. We become acutely aware of their possible death as they become aware of ours. In Japanese literature, the whole of that experience is what is seen as love. One of the most famous literary works for theater, Sonezaki Shinju, for Bunraku puppet theater, culminates in the scene of 2 lovers walking on a snowy night to their deaths. The journey is a prolonged moment of impending loss. A contemporary artist we knew tried to change the ending by adding a scene where the couple went off to paradise, sort of like changing Romeo and Juliet. As much as we hate it, they can't get married in the end. And that performance fell flat. The beauty of the play is in that moment of beauty and sadness, which becomes the metaphor for life, the journey that ends in death. The presence of death, that dance with death, gives us the opportunity to conquer our fears and live into the moments we have. These are moments in our lives that shake us into the present, and they change the trajectory of our lives. Let us listen to how Jo Sprague encounters such a moment in her life.
So I was devastated. It seemed like everything that I cared about in my life was falling apart, and most importantly, my identity. I had been in denial for quite a while, so I wasn't, there were some options that were not available to me. Abortion was not an option anyway in those days. But as I began to think about how far along I was, I had kind of an existential moment. I remember the day very clearly after I'd lived with this news for a week or so, that my only option is to have this pregnancy or not, but that an illegal abortion at that time would risk death. And I realized I didn't want to die, no matter what else went into my decision. I thought about, what if my parents disowned me? What if I could never get into any college again? What if I changed my name and went and lived in a small town and started over, maybe with a child? And it was clear to me that all I wanted was not to die, that my life up until then could be erased, and I still wanted a future. I had friends from high school right then who had already died in Vietnam. And so it was a real life or death kind of moment. Once that passed, and I remember where I was and how I went through that, once that moment was past, I just did what I had to do. I told my parents the truth. I made up a lie for everybody else. I made some arrangements of where I was going to go. And some months later, I was being wheeled in a wheelchair to the nursery of a hospital by the social worker, and I could see the child that I would never be allowed to hold in my arms or never be allowed to have contact with. And she asked me, "How do you feel right now?" And I surprised myself by saying, "I feel proud." But today, as I look back on that, a better answer of how I feel about the very tough things that I went through during that time is that I feel grateful. And I feel grateful because I got myself into a situation that I couldn't, for once, talk my way out of. It was as real as this virus we're going through now. No negotiations, just go into it or don't go into it. And I learned a lot of things, and one is that I was not this person with this reputation of being a great debater, that the narrative, the story about me wasn't really of interest to anybody else, and I didn't need to present myself that way in order to be accepted. I met all kinds of people that were kind to me and wonderful to me because I needed help, not because I deserved it. And the doctors and nurses and social workers that I met made me realize that winning contests is not what life is about. And it was very transformative. I stayed with my sister in Nashville, and her neighbors were kind to me, and I kept thinking, how am I going to explain why I'm here? I need a story of where this husband of mine that's in the military, I better find out the name of a military base, and I better tell them. And it's like, they didn't care. They liked me as Kathy's sister who was pregnant, and we watched the dating game together, and they told me what they were going to fix for dinner that night. And I realized that what I had done and what I could do was not important at all, that I was okay and worth supporting and caring for just because people are kind and they see that need. And that was one huge thing. I also learned that I was not, it wasn't, I'd been thinking so much about my future and having such a detailed plan for what I was going to do after graduate school and the career I was going to have. And I realized I hadn't thought very much at all about having a personal plan. I spent a lot of time with kids that time, my 3 and 4-year-old nieces. My sister took advantage of that time to have me be caregiver a lot. I babysat to earn money then. And I realized how wonderful little children are to be around. And I also realized what an incredible, constant responsibility they are. And that I was not ready to be a parent, especially a single parent. And that helped me not waver from my decision that adoption was the right choice for me. And I learned going forward to think more about what I wanted personally in my life as well as a career. It seems that a lot of the changes happened when I went back to graduate school, and I noticed how different I was. First of all, my body. Carrying a child transforms a person. And I was this tight 94-pound intense person, and somehow I got some roundness to my body and some softness, and I felt different. And that carried over into my very tough emotional life. When I went through the early weeks of this discovery, I didn't cry. I didn't cry at all. When I got back to school, I would be watching a TV commercial and I would be weeping about some sentimental thing. It was like my whole being had softened and a lot of my competitiveness had gone away. And I had become a teacher and a coach over the next couple of years. The next time I had a chance to compete in a postgraduate debate thing, I'd lost my edge. I didn't care. I liked the person I was becoming. And all of these learnings are not, I think I would have learned them anyway. If I had gone to England and had that wonderful tour and that wonderful experience, I would have come back just more full of myself, more arrogant, more argumentative. I don't think that would have lasted to my mid-70s. Life would have knocked me somewhere out of there. I don't think I would be coming to circle suppers and telling you there were 3 fallacies in what you just said, or that I would like to, when I was in Oxford and or when I won this big trophy, or when Lawrence Tribe gave me the perfect ballot that he'd never given before. I don't think that still would be in the front of my mind, but I'm glad that I got to have all those learnings close together in my early 20s. If I'd gone to England, I would have just learned to be more like I was before. Those things I would have learned, but there's one thing that this experience gave me that would not have happened through any other path. And his name is Christopher Chamberlain. And he is the son that I thought about every year on his birthday and Mother's Day, which was very close to his birthday every year. And that I imagined, okay, this is what an 8-year-old looks like. It was always in my mind. I didn't regret the choice to give him away for adoption, but I very much regretted that I would never get to know him. Well, the internet came along, laws loosened up in some states, and in 2001, Chris and I were united. And he wasn't looking for me, but he didn't mind being found, and it's added an incredible dimension to my life. We found, among other things, that he was spending 4 years as a student at Stanford when I was teaching at San Jose State, 20 miles down the road. And as he said, we could have done brunch. I found out that he's bright and funny and talented and successful in his career and very committed to social justice. He's a food writer, not a restaurant reviewer, but a food writer. And he writes about the lives of people in the food business. He writes about food insecurity. He writes about community restaurants, community gardens, as well as writing a whole lot about delicious food. So I received many gifts that I'm very grateful for as a result of this thing that I thought was the end of my world. And now in a time where I'm too close to seeing all the gifts that this period's giving us, I still feel that I feel gratitude that this is probably another time of transformation and insight for me.
Now you can hear me. And thank you, Joe. And Joe told me that Christopher has visited Granite Peak, and we hope this pandemic is over and we can all meet him when he comes back again. I first heard Joe's story when I asked for stories about earthly angels last Christmas Eve. And at that time, Joe described the nurse who helped her during the birthing of her child. She described this young woman as an angel. And I believe Kelsey Wilkes, I had people read different ones of others, and I think then everyone thought that was Kelsey Wilkes' story. It is not, it's Joe's story. And now, months later, when we were talking about gratitude or thankfulness in one of the gatherings I have, she told the story more completely about how it had changed the direction of her life, and that she was grateful for that change and for the existence of her son. For a few years, I have been grappling with gratitude. I know it's a good thing. And I feel that my go-to places in the past for gratitude, not the gratitude I feel in the present, which we'll be talking about as well, but the places I go to in the past, it has seemed to me there was something wrong, that wasn't really where my gratitude needed to go. And it seemed like Joe had that connection with gratitude for something that was really difficult, that changed everything. And when I searched my life, I have come up with the very difficult truth that my biggest challenges have reaped the greatest rewards, not financial rewards, not awards that I could tell you about something that I wrote that got an award, but rewards of understanding, compassion, resilience, and connection. You know, for years, I was angry with the people who rejected Mary Lou and me in our families and religious communities, much like what Molly Freibot talked about last week. But after some years, it came to me that this experience of rejection changed my life. It helped me to understand other groups who experienced rejection. Looking back to, I found the people who reached out, people who had seemingly minor roles in our lives, but who knew that we needed support, and to whom I am deeply grateful. And I've also come to realize that the years I've spent with Mary Lou, the person I love more than anyone else, couldn't have happened without going through that really difficult time of rejection. It's easy for me to feel gratitude for the wonderful years Mary Lou and I continue to have together. And I'm getting closer to having gratitude for that hard part. Because without that hard part, I wouldn't have this good part. So I invite you too to look back on your lives with an eye to those pivotal experiences, those things that we kind of wish hadn't happened. And I wonder, after finding awareness of those pivotal times, I invite you into a pathway, a work towards gratitude. On that road, which has been a hard road for me, I come from Scottish people who remember everything. But on that road, you will find other important work. You will find a need to learn to be forgiving, both of the people who hurt you and of yourself, and of things just not going on that trajectory that Joe described so beautifully. There is lots of letting go on this road. And I wonder, during this time of pandemic, we also need to, with all this time we have for reflection, we must continue the practice of finding gratitude for the everyday around us. Let us find gratitude when we're looking at somebody who's wearing a mask and we see that crinkle in their forehead. It could be a smile. And gratitude for the man with the overloaded cart who led us in front of him in the grocery line with our 1 carton of milk. For the friend we haven't heard from in years who just sent a message saying, "I'm just thinking about you." And for the card that just came in the mail, for the one we sent and the pleasure we felt in writing it, for the blue sky, for the woods, for the hiking trails, for the expanse, for those last leaves that are glimmering on the cottonwood trees. Let us all give thanks. Amen, and may it be so. And now I invite you into singing with Louis Armstrong, who had a great struggle. And what an amazing voice he brings us with What a Wonderful World. May we see those things around us that lift our hearts. And may we find those things in our past that we can heal. And perhaps even if it's in our last breath of life, find gratitude for. It is a good path. I hope that you join me on it. I'm not very good at it, so I'm just telling you that I'm inviting you into something that I know is important, and it's very hard. And I wonder about Beethoven. I wonder if he thought that his life struggles had given him that edge, that complexity of great beauty and suffering that I feel in his work, like that long walk of those lovers in Sonezaki Shinju as they walk towards death. Let us listen to that beauty and struggle in this movement, the fourth movement of his 5th symphony that was chosen by Mary Lou because this is music that she loves and feels that depth. Let us listen together. I can't wait till we can go to concerts again. Oh, so before we extinguish our chalice, let us remember, let us consider the struggles that bring such beauty to this world. Thank you, Joe. Thank you, Beethoven. Thank you, Lou. And all of you who have shared your struggles. Thank you. And now we will extinguish our chalice together. And after that, and remember, if any of you are interested in sponsoring one of those families, Latino families, please be in contact with me or with Heather or with Suki. Suki's the real one for you to be in contact with. We will put you in contact with her, but it might be easier to catch. More of you have my or Lou's or Heather's contact information. So let us extinguish our chalice together. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. And now, if you stay in the main room, you'll be able to talk with Joe. And if you go back into breakout rooms, I hope that you talk about some of those difficult places in your life or just what you feel grateful for in the present. Thank you all. See you soon. Bye.